gamers like you. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy. This question comes from the Guardians 777. How many planets do they visit in the Star Wars movies? An interesting question indeed. The short answer is a lot, but let's try to figure out exactly how many and which ones to boot. To start, a disclaimer. I am not the biggest Star Wars fan. I watched basically everything Star Wars as a kid, but I've grown a little out of it as an adult. As such, when you say Star Wars movies, I'm going to count only the episodic Star Wars movies. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, through Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I know, canonically, that there is an animated movie called The Clone Wars. There are 2 Star Wars stories, Solo and Rogue One, and just so many TV shows. But I didn't want this video to be an hour of me just listing Star Wars planet names. So, if you want a follow-up to this question where I include certain shows or add in all the spin-off movies, leave a comment down below. I look forward to learning more about the Star Wars galaxy at large with you. Second disclaimer, I will be going through the movies in original release order, as this is, historically, the order we, the viewers, would have seen these planets first. However, as the most accessible way to view the Star Wars movies right now is via Disney Plus, I will be counting planet appearances based on these special edition versions, which are the only ones available on Disney Plus. This will cause some planets to appear out of order, which I think is very funny. Okay, here we go. This is the official Star Wars galaxy map. This particular graphic I got from the Star Wars fandom wiki, known by most as Wikipedia. It is a scan of a piece of physical media, a poster, handed out at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2022, which shows the canonical locations of all the Star Wars planets and/or systems. To begin, A New Hope starts in space above Tatooine. In fact, pretty much the whole first act takes place on or around Tatooine. The next planet we see is Alderaan. However, we only see Alderaan from orbit aboard the Death Star, as it is quickly destroyed. This map does not list the locations of space stations, and this one does move around a little bit, so I'll just add Death Star 1 to the list as well. The final planet we see in A New Hope is Yavin 4, where the Death Star is ultimately destroyed. The Empire Strikes Back begins on the ice planet of Hoth. After the Empire arrives and the Rebellion flees their base, our story splits. Luke and R2, following Obi-Wan's advice, travel to Dagobah, while Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO travel to Bespin. The Falcon does end up in an asteroid field somewhere between Hoth and Bespin, but it does not, to my knowledge, have a name or definitive place in this galaxy. And that is all from Empire. So far, 3 planets apiece, bringing us to 6 and a space station. Return of the Jedi does not begin on a planet, instead starting us on the under-construction Death Star 2. We know, having seen the movie, that it is in orbit above the forest moon of Endor, but that information isn't revealed until later. We next return to Tatooine to rescue Han, and then go back to Dagobah briefly to say goodbye to Yoda. Luke celebrations held on other planets that were oppressed by the Empire. We return to Bespin, but we also see two new planets in celebration, Naboo and Coruscant. Now, because of this edit in the special editions, the Phantom Menace has no new locations to add to our list. We return to Naboo at the start of the movie, after which we return to Tatooine to meet Anakin, then return again to Coruscant. The story jumps between these 3 planets, but does not change our counter. 10 planets and 2 space stations. Attack of the Clones, however, does add a few new planets to the mix. We start the movie returning to Coruscant. Like A New Hope, most of the first act takes place in the first location. Anakin and Padme then return to Naboo and then later Tatooine, while Obi-Wan visits Kamino. According to current Star Wars canon, Kamino is not on this map because its coordinates were deleted from the records. According to old canon, it would have been in cell S-15. The final planet we visit as Obi-Wan follows Jango Fett off of Kamino is Geonosis. We are currently at 12 planets and 2 planet-sized space stations, but Revenge of the Sith is about to change that in a big way. Who knew a galaxy-spanning war could include so many fabulous new locations? As with Episode 2, we begin with a return to Coruscant, this time in a space battle above the planet. We get our first glimpse of a new planet when General Grievous flees to Utapau. We will return here once or twice over the course of this movie as Obi-Wan tracks him down. Next, we follow Yoda to Kashyyyk, where we meet a young Chewbacca. The next new locations, unfortunately, come with the execution of Order 66. We see Jedi gunned or shot down by their clones on Maigito, Felucia, Cato Nemoidia, and Salukami. We then travel to the lava world of Mustafar with Darth Vader. Finally, we visit Polis Massa, which is technically a planetoid, but I'll count it nonetheless. We do return to a few places to close out the movie. Naboo for Padme's funeral, the first Death Star under construction, Alderaan, whose surface we are now seeing for the first time, to see baby Leia's new home, and Tatooine to see baby Luke's new home. That brings our count to a clean 20 planets and 2 space stations as we begin the first Disney trilogy. The Force Awakens begins on the planet Jakku, and much like the other trilogies, a good portion of the first act takes place here. We do get some scenes on Starkiller Base mixed in, which is an interesting data point for our purposes. Starkiller Base is technically a space station. However, we do also know that the base was built into the planet of Ilum. Since Ilum is on this galaxy map and not Starkiller Base, I'll add it to our planet count anyway. We next travel to Takodana to visit Maz Kanata. It is from here that we witness Starkiller Base destroy the homeworlds of the New Republic, Hosnian Prime. After the base is destroyed, our main cast splits. Finn and the other New Republic troops go to their base on Dakar, while Rey goes in search of Luke on Ahch-To. With 26 planets now seen, we move on to The Last Jedi, which mostly takes place in space between planets. We do return to Dakar as the evacuation begins, and return to Ahch-To to see Rey's training process. But it is not until Finn, Poe, BB-8, and Rose go to Cantonica to do their casino mission that we see a new planet. We do catch glimpses of Jakku and an unnamed planet in visions Rey has while training, but we do not actually visit those locations escape sequence while multi-jumping through many locales. We pass the only comet on this list of planets, Sinta Glacier. The other locations we see while multi-jumping are not planets or space stations. From here, we begin a treasure hunt looking for a wayfinder to locate the exact location of Exegol. This hunt begins on Ancient Claws at the Resistance base and then takes us through Pasahana, Kichimi, and Kef Bir. It is here that we will have to take a brief detour to discuss how Star Wars handles naming conventions. You see, Kef Bir is another moon of the planet Endor, of which Endor is a forest moon as well. In this universe, Endor is the name of a binary star system whose suns are called Endor 1 and Endor 2. The planet for which the system was named is the gas giant Endor, which has, I believe, 9 moons. The forest moon of Endor is also called Endor. The ocean moon of Endor is called Kef Bir. Like with episode 6, we do see some celebrations of the fall of the Sith Eternal on returning planets Bespin, Endor, and Jakku. Finally, we return to Tatooine, where it all began. That makes 34 unique planets, and moons, and planetoids, and comets, plus 2.5 planet-sized space stations if you count Starkiller, visited in the 9 episodic Star Wars movies. Thanks for that great question, and remember, if you want more Star Wars content, you need only ask. This question comes from Anne Amoeba. Why do Americans and Europeans write their dates differently? Excellent question. Thanks for asking. I'm going to answer this one a little differently than I normally would. I've actually thought about this some myself, especially when I was a young man, so I'll give you my interpretation of the difference, then I'll find out the real answer as best I can and finish with that. To begin, for those who don't know, when writing out the numerical date, Europeans and Americans order their months and days differently. For Americans, we write the month before the day. So today's date is 7/16, or July 16th. Europeans, on the other hand, write out the day before the month. So the same date is written as 16/7, or the 16th of July. Now, my curiosity about this phenomenon was picked when I first saw this meme. Obviously, this was made to make fun of Americans and our silly ways of measuring things, and that's fine. But I think it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how Americans are actually arranging our date numbers, which is the crux of my pet theory for why we do our dates the way we do. You see, in the European style, they arrange the date by smallest part of the whole to largest, day, then month, then year. Days, which are part of months, which are part of years. This is why their pyramid looks like this, and it honestly might look better viewed from above as a Venn diagram of sorts. A large ring encompassing a year with a smaller month ring inside and a smaller day ring inside of that. The American style, in my observation, takes the concept of smallest to largest and organizes them not by grouping, but by maximum value in the month, then day, then year fashion. The month caps at 12, with days capping at 31, and years capping at infinity, I guess. Or 99, if we're sticking with the 2-digit writing scheme. this is the actual reason why Americans originally started writing their dates this way, but I liked the way that it sounded when I was younger and thought of it myself. Let's see if I can find an actual answer. Okay, so unfortunately for all of us, there appears to be no true answer. The best anyone can tell, America writes its dates like this because the UK used to do it this way also. The UK switched in the 1800s to be more like the rest of Europe, but America didn't want to change, so we didn't. Thanks for that fascinating question. I'm sorry I couldn't find an actual answer for you. This question comes from C. Callison. What is a meeple, and why do we call it that? Thank you for your question. In board gaming, a meeple is a small person-shaped token used to represent people. The term meeple was actually coined by accident while playing a game of Carcassonne, the game that originated these figures. Someone accidentally slurred together the phrase, "my people," into Meeple. This account was repeated on popular board gaming website, Board Game Geek, or BGG for short, and it quickly became the colloquial term for people-shaped gaming pieces. In fact, the term has become so ubiquitous that it has spawned some spin-off terms. Cameeple for camel-shaped tokens like in Silk Road or Five Tribes. Sheeple for sheep-shaped tokens in farming games like Agricola or Caverna. And Creeple for monster-shaped tokens from games like Spook Manor. Thank you again to the Guardians 777, Anne Amoeba, and C. Callison. If you would like to have your question answered in a video, leave it in a comment below this one. If you would prefer to ask your question a little more privately, you can email me your question at questionsandasmr@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more questions